Today on CityCast Austin, we may be 2,000 miles from New York City, but y'all, we've got a thriving theater scene in town. And the 10-show Broadway in Austin season kicks off tonight with MJ the Musical. So I'm joined today by Bob Bursey to talk about Broadway, the longest road in America. CityCast Austin is brought to you by our exclusive launch sponsor, Tecovas. It's Tuesday, October 8th. I'm Nikki Devon, and this is what Austin's talking about. Hello, I'm here today with Bob Bursey, Executive Director and Artistic Director at Texas Performing Arts, and we are going to talk about Broadway. Hi, Bob. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on, Nikki.
Thanks for being here. So first, off top, the Broadway in Austin season is about to kick off, and I have heard that it's the biggest yet. Why does this matter to Austin? Why is Broadway big in Austin? Tell me a little bit about that.
I got to say, Nikki, it is huge and getting bigger every year.
Love it.
So Broadway in Austin is a program of Texas Performing Arts, which is the Performing Arts Center at UT Austin. And Broadway in Austin takes place at Bass Concert Hall on the UT campus. And this year, we've got 10 Broadway shows direct from New York coming into Austin, which is the most that we've ever been able to bring to the city. And this is a series that's been going on since 1983. It started with just one show back then, and it's built year over year. And now we have about 15,000 subscribers. So those are season ticket holders that come to every show on the season. And then, of course, you can buy tickets to individual shows as well. But people think of Austin as an arts city, a creative city, and theater and Broadway is certainly a big part of that.
Love it. Now, you were in New York for 20 years and Tony Award winner for the reinvention of Oklahoma, which I love. It's one of my favorite musicals. And now you're at UT. How did you get here? Because I'm trying to know how we are lucky enough to have a Tony Award winner in our midst.
I've been really fortunate to have the opportunity to lead great organizations in New York. And there was an opportunity to come here to Austin and take Texas Performing Arts, which had been a really significant part of the cultural community here, and try to make it even better and even bigger and kind of level up the arts and cultural opportunities that the university offers and bring more exciting artists and projects into the city. And that's the kind of thing that I just couldn't refuse.
And I got to know, I have to be nosy because my little theater heart is fluttering. How did it feel to win a Tony? And I have to know.
It's surreal. To have that recognition from your peers in the field is amazing. I think, right, Nikki, you're an artist as well.
Yeah.
You're doing what you do for your own intrinsic motivations because you have a story that you want to tell or a feeling that you want to share with people or a community that you're trying to build. And I think that's why musicians, theater makers, dancers, all types of performance artists and producers and the folks like me who support that storytelling and the making of those worlds, that's why we do it. But then to receive some recognition that you really nailed it is wonderful.
Oh my God, I can't even imagine. So the first show of the season is MJ the Musical. And, we can talk all day about like who's the biggest Michael Jackson fan. I think I could probably rival a few people, but why is this significant? Why is this a big deal?
Yeah, I'm going to let you all fight that out. That sounds good, though. It's a wonderful production, and it's one of those that has been really successful in London and New York, and now it's out on tour, bringing in huge crowds every night. And what I really like about it is that it brings you closer to the story of who Michael Jackson was and what it might have been like to work with him as an artist. It's sort of set in his studio when they're preparing one of the big world tours and takes you through some of his upbringing and family background and struggles that he had. And then, of course, enjoying this incredible music that is globally known, just iconic songs with amazing dancing and choreography also. And the way they find these performers to be able to embody Michael Jackson is quite spectacular. So we're excited to kick off our season with that.
I love it. So can we talk a little bit about how is that pipeline from Broadway in New York to Austin work? I'm really curious because it's not that I don't think that we are a city that should have big productions. We absolutely are, but I'm curious how we got on that radar.
Yeah, it's changed and grown over time with the growth of Austin and the strength of our audiences here, and their interest in seeing really high quality live theater has allowed us to bring bigger and better shows to the city sooner. And it also helps that we are connected with others in the state and around the country. So there's a lot of collaboration that goes on. If there's a performance that we really want to bring to Austin, it would be great if I could also connect with my colleagues in Dallas or my colleagues in Houston or San Antonio. And these are physically very big productions. So MJ, as an example, travels in 8 tractor trailer trucks. That's sort
Wow.
of like medium size, and we go bigger and we go smaller. Lots of people on the road in terms of performers and the crews and staff that support them. And so there's an operational component as well of how we're going to move that from Austin to Dallas and on through their course of their tour.
You essentially make sure that if you want something to come into town, you talk to other cities. You be like, are y'all cool with it coming to y'all city too? So it makes it kind of worthwhile for them to come into Texas. Is that what I'm understanding correctly?
It helps, absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah,
just the
okay.
feasibility of it and the logistics for sure. It's in the industry, we call it routing, right? So
Yeah.
touring and being able to move efficiently. So when we bring a Broadway show into Austin, generally it will play for a full week, sometimes 2 or more, or sometimes for fewer performances. But the baseline for us is 8 performances over the course of the week, and it starts on Tuesday and ends on Sunday night. Everything gets packed up at the end of the performance on Sunday night, and then they need to open in the next city on Tuesday evening. So it needs to be a logistical possibility for them to get where they're going next. So that plays into it quite a bit. And then also it's about, what do we think is going to be super successful in Austin? What are people going to love? What are the stories that need to be told here and are going to resonate with our community? And we
Mm.
look at that from the perspective of a season 2 is trying to put together different things so there's something for everybody. What are the most exciting new shows that have premiered on Broadway? Maybe what are some revivals, some things from the past, classic musicals that people really love and would want to experience again? And how do we put that together? What are the big hits, like a Hamilton, let's say,
Yeah.
that bears repeated viewing, and we want to bring it back to the city and make that story available to folks? So those are some of the decisions and ingredients that go into putting a whole season together.
Nice. And so what other shows are coming to town? Like what I want to know which ones I should be excited about.
I'm excited about all of them. There are some really interesting shows. There's one that's a little bit under the radar, but it was really successful in New York. It's coming in November, called Shucked, and it's a musical comedy.
Ooh.
One of the funniest shows that I've ever seen. It pulls in bluegrass music quite a bit, and just a wonderful, lively musical story. And sometimes people think theater is serious, but in many cases, it's actually very, very funny. And you can have a wonderful evening out at the theater and just laugh all night long. And Shucked is a show that really does that. We like to bring things that are great for audiences of all ages. So we have a new production of Peter Pan coming in December. Which is staged with incredible production value. So, of course, you're going to get the flying of the characters. You're going to get amazing music from the orchestra, wonderful sets, and incredible storytelling.
That sounds like something I want to see.
Yeah.
I want to see people fly around stage.
It's great. Obviously, we have lots of opportunities to participate in live performance and music and the arts in Austin. One thing that's great, I think, about coming to Broadway is that you're seated in an air-conditioned theater with a drink in your hand with your
Yes.
friends. So I always like to mention that. And you can come see something like Hamilton, which is coming back in the spring. I don't know if you've had a chance to see it, but if you haven't, it's just an incredible production. Really, really wonderful story.
Oh man, I feel like I can't see that enough. So yes, I will absolutely be there.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So who comes to the show? Speaking of which, who comes to the shows? Do you find that it's Austinites? Is it folks from out of town? Is it like a combination?
Yeah, it's Austinites. I think it's folks who love theater, love the experience of making memories with their friends and family, and bonding around these incredible shows and the music and the uh, dance. And it's a really wide range of people. Some folks who have been coming for years and years and years, right? So they have subscription seats, which give them the same seats for every performance in the season. And they kind of know that it's their date night or it's their family outing
Yeah.
every month or every other month. And it's a family tradition. And then we have folks who are brand new, who maybe heard about a show from New York, or their friend is really excited about Moulin Rouge, let's say, because they love the Baz Luhrmann movie and they're really excited about the big spectacle of that as a Broadway show. And they're going to come and check it out. So we really serve a local audience. And what's great is that you can see these Broadway quality productions right here in Austin without having to get on a plane and go to New York.
I'm into it. And I just got back from New York and I was going to try to like pop in and see a show. Absolutely not. It was a nightmare. So I love this idea that now I love that Austin is just a place that I can see a Broadway show. I don't have to go anywhere. This like personally speaks to me on a huge level. On a huge level. I love New York. No shade to New York, of course, but like it is difficult to navigate the Broadway scene there if you're not from there. It's hard. So
Yeah.
this feels really nice. So what is the impact of these Broadway shows in Austin? Like in regards to the local workforce or tourism, how does Broadway impact us?
Yeah, it's a big economic driver. These shows generate a huge amount of economic activity in the city. Number one, because we're bringing a lot of people in with the production. So all of those cast members, all of those traveling crew members, they're staying in Austin. They're enjoying our incredible dining scene and participating in everything that our city has to offer. And then it gets folks out, the audience who's coming to the theater, they're having pre-performance meals, they're having a drink after the show. So there's a lot of economic benefit that comes from big touring productions and hosting them in the city. And then the other part that I'm really passionate about is the educational impact of these productions. So we're affiliated with UT Austin, so we're always thinking about public service and education in the broader sense. And how can we share the magic of theater and the joy of performance with our community? And so we do a lot to bring in not only UT students, but high school students, sometimes even elementary, middle school students, and share these shows with them. Might be their first time coming to a theater, or certainly their first time seeing a Broadway performance. So that's a big part of the impact as well.
It's a thing. My very first time seeing a musical, of course, was at Bass Concert Hall. It's a big, big night. So I love the correlation between like going out, having dinner, having some drinks beforehand. So how is the Texas Performing Arts involved in the Broadway and Austin season?
Broadway in Austin is a big piece of what we do. We also present concerts and comedy. So if you want to hear Larry David or Kevin Hart, for instance, that's part of our series that we call Texas Welcomes, that presents all sorts of popular entertainment across media. And then we also really focus on important American artists. So dance companies from New York, theater troupes from abroad. We have a very global perspective as well, so bringing international work into Austin, and then giving a platform for some of our local Austin artists and ensembles to perform on the city's biggest stage. That's what Bass Concert Hall is. It's the biggest stage in the city, and it's our city's biggest theater. So we try to make that available to a lot of Austin-based artists to support them in their work as well. So we do a whole range of stuff, try to have something for everyone, and Broadway in Austin is kind of the cherry on top of it all.
You know, if anyone is listening that has never been to a show at Bass Concert Hall, I mean, I can't recommend it enough. It's just something I feel like if you can do it, you have to do it. I've seen everything from plays to Aretha Franklin to Gladys. I mean, like everything. Bass Concert Hall is it's a special venue. Hey y'all, it's Nikki. I have to tell you about Tecovas boots. I finally have a pair, and I don't know if y'all know this, but they're handmade, high quality, and stylish. And they're comfortable right outside of the box. Now, I know we buy everything online these days, but trust me, you have to get fitted for some boots at Tecovas. Now, whether you're like me, a newbie to boots, or you have a closet full of them, the folks at Tecovas will help you find your next favorite pair. So, grab a friend, head on over to the Tecovas flagship on South Congress or their store at the Domain. Plus, good news, they just opened a store in Georgetown at 709 Main Street for those of you that live just a little further north. With 3 locations in town, you have no excuses. So, that's tecovas.com. TECOVAS.com. Don't go gently, y'all. So, let's switch gears a little bit. What is Broadway Across America?
Yeah, so that's a collaborative organization that helps organize those tours that I was mentioning earlier. So we work with them. It's a great organization that's based in New York, and they help arrange the logistics of how these shows move across the country. And they also help us put together the season packages and the subscriptions. So we have subscribers, like I said, who have been with us for years and years and years. And sometimes we even get into difficult situations where maybe families have had some differences. The couple's getting a divorce and there's a fight over who's going to get the subscription tickets, or you have subscription tickets that have been passed down from multiple generations of the family, right? And they just have those seats that they love in the theater for every show. And Broadway Across America helps us organize all of that.
And we read that there was a conference, a Broadway Across America conference in February. Did Texas Performing Arts participate in that?
We do. Yeah. It's one of the great privileges of my job is how do we connect our audiences here in Austin and make sure that we're getting the best shows that are out there? And how do we also shape the shows that are being produced in New York and what's going to go on tour? So we participate in those national networks. I'm a voter for the Tony Awards is something else that happens where those of us who are presenting the shows get to provide input into that kind of recognition of what represents the best theater that's happening on Broadway in our country right now.
That is awesome.
Absolutely. Love to represent Austin in all of those spaces.
I love that. What goes into coming up with the season's worth of shows? Is there any specific formula? Is it other than just we just kind of pick what's hot right now and what we think Austin will like? Or is there is there a formula to it?
There really isn't. I think it's a creative process, right? And as an artist yourself, right, you understand creative process. Yes. And then you also understand that creative process is always in conversation with practical reality. You might have a vision in your mind of what you want your show to be, but what are the collaborators that I can get? And is it appropriate for the stage that I'm trying to put it on? And will the audience receive it in the way that I intend it? So it's a wonderful mix of those two things of what's going to make a really artistically satisfying season, and then what are the practicalities of which shows are going to be in Texas or in the Southwest at the time that I have availability in the theater that also aligns with when that show could go to San Antonio. And when is the tour going to start and end? And that's the work that I get to do with my team here is navigate that and hopefully put together really exciting seasons, not only of Broadway, but of all sorts of artists that are out there on tour.
So how does Broadway in Austin affect young people and students? You mentioned this a little bit earlier, who just want to pursue a career in the performing arts. And we read that an Austinite won the Jimmy Awards. And so is that a big deal? How does that translate into creating a career for somebody that might want to do this?
Yeah, that's an area that I personally am really passionate about. I sort of came into our field at the very bottom as an unpaid intern and have done many, many jobs over the years in the theater and worked my way to being able to have the privilege of leading an organization. And so we feel really passionately about fostering the next generation of artists and arts workers and audiences, and also getting the incredible talent that we have here in Austin connected to the national stage. So that's something that we did recently. You mentioned the Jimmy Awards. That's what's known as the National High School Musical Theater Awards. And cities around the country have the opportunity to select students from their community to go to New York and do 10 days of master classes and workshops with Broadway performers and directors and choreographers, and then there's a competition at the end. And Austin hadn't been plugged into that up until year before last. And so through our role as the presenter of Broadway in Austin, we were able to make that connection, sponsor two incredible high school students from Central Texas to go to New York. And in our first year of doing that, one of the students, an incredible young man named Langston Lee, actually won the Best Actor competition. So it was sort of beginner's luck, maybe, but really represented that we've got amazing students and young people of all ages here in Austin. We want to give them the best opportunities that exist in the arts, the same opportunities that are available in other big cities around the country.
I'm curious because we're talking about touring shows. Is there any kind of roving crew that helps with Broadway shows, or is it just people that are hired at Bass Concert that are always there with the tours? What is that connection to Broadway when it comes to just like the crews of the shows? I'm really curious how that works.
Yeah, that's a great question. And I love sharing the behind the scenes. And it's a mix of both. There are crew people that tour with the productions, and they know exactly how the equipment that they're carrying works, and they understand the cadence of how the shows get put together, because these are massive productions that are coming in
Right.
sometimes the day before, sometimes just the morning of the first
Oh my
performance, very early in the
God.
morning. And so you're thinking about 8 or more tractor trailer loads of equipment, scenery, lighting, projection, sound that have to get unpacked and put in exactly the right places and connected. And they work with a team of local crew to do that. So for a big Broadway load in, we might have 60, 70, 80, up to 100 or more folks for a very big show who are working in different departments. So it's a sort of very organized system where we have a team that's responsible for sets, and a team that's responsible for lighting, and a team that's responsible for hair and makeup, wardrobe, everything. And it's puzzle pieces that all fit together in hopefully a very organized and efficient way.
Are there any UT students involved, or is this just the same crew of people that you always use?
We have an amazing community of professional stage employees here in Austin. So folks who are very educated and experienced in all of the disciplines of theater and performance and music. And so we hire from that community. And then we also will bring some students into it as apprentices or interns, or as they gain more facility and education as paid employees. So we're actually one of the biggest employers of students on the UT campus, and those students are working throughout all parts of our organization, both backstage and in the front of house and in the administrative offices, to get some real world experience with these incredible shows. And then we even have a fellowship program as well, where the most talented of those students who really want to make a go of a career in the arts and entertainment will stay on with us in a paid fellowship for a year or more.
I love that. This sounds really unusual to me. So is it odd that students get to work in the industry at school like that? I mean, does this happen all over the place, or is this just another thing that Austin is really awesome about?
Of course, being affiliated with UT, we are always thinking about that educational component, and we want to bring great shows to the community. That's part of our service to the public. And we want to be giving opportunities to the next generation. So there are other presenters like us around the country who have different programs. I think our educational components here are more extensive than a lot of the others that I'm familiar with.
I love to see it. What could Austin do better to support the arts? How, has things changed over time? Have we gotten better? Have things gotten a little harder since the pandemic? What are you seeing in terms of just overall support?
That's a great question. I would always encourage folks to not take it for granted, right? Here in Austin, we have a narrative about what an amazing live music city it is, how it's a great city for going out and seeing shows. But I imagine, Nikki, as an artist, that what really matters is people coming out to see what you're doing. Right.
Right.
That's how you show your support, and that's how you sustain that community. So I encourage people to keep doing that, to take a chance in particular on maybe something that you aren't familiar with or haven't seen, before, give it a try. I always really love to see people who do that and can have a very rewarding and satisfying experience at a show, checking out something that maybe they weren't familiar with or they hadn't heard a lot about. Another piece that I think is really valuable for folks who love the arts and love going out to performances is to be educated about the different types of venues that exist in our city.
Mm.
So we have a number of different nonprofits, and then we also have commercial operators, for-profit venues. And I encourage people to support artists regardless of where they are performing. But I think as an educated audience member, you can start to recognize the difference and really think about how you, through where you choose to attend performances, or maybe where you choose to become a member or even make a contribution, how you're supporting the community, whether it's a museum or the Performing Arts Center or a film festival. Right? We have incredible nonprofits in Austin that, compared to other cities in the state, haven't historically gotten as much support.
Right.
So a way to kind of know the difference. It's not a perfect metric, but if you're looking at a place that's a .com versus a place that's a .org in their website address, that's a just like back of the napkin way to know whether it's a for-profit venue versus a nonprofit venue. And the nonprofit venues and organizations in our city exist to serve the public. And when you buy a ticket to something that we're doing here, you also are supporting an opportunity for students to come and see that show, or an opportunity for young people to learn career skills behind the scenes. And we're really thinking about those issues, I think, in a way that's not part of the mission and purpose of a commercially operated venue.
Austin has so many nonprofit organizations, art organizations specifically. And I want to talk about accessibility. I think that sometimes there's a belief that things like Broadway are not accessible financially. Let's talk a little bit about tickets, about that accessibility.
Yeah, that's huge. And we believe that theater is for everyone and the arts should be for everyone. And of course, it is expensive to produce art and to bring big touring shows from around the country to the city. So we try to have a range. For us, $29, $39 as a starting point is what we're usually able to offer. Even for a popular show, something like MJ, which is almost sold out, tickets are available for $59. And I think for the experience that you're getting and the quality of the production values and the artistry that you will see on the stage and the emotion and the way those performers are throwing down, I think it really is a really worthwhile investment in having a great experience. And of course, tickets will be more expensive if you want to sit in the absolute best seats in the venue, but we try to have a wide range of price points available for folks to take advantage of.
I think you also mentioned that students have an opportunity to get either discounted tickets, or it's not free tickets, but it's discounted tickets, right?
Yeah, we do offer discounted tickets for students. It varies depending on exactly which show, because ticket pricing is usually set in conjunction with the artist or the production. So we're always trying to work out what the right arrangement is. But for a lot of what we do, we offer $10 student tickets, especially for our arts programming, like our jazz artists or dance companies or international artists that are coming in. And then for Broadway, we have a program that we call the Bass Pass, which is focused on UT students, which gets them access to $10 tickets for Broadway shows. And there's always information on our website at texasperformingarts.org about the different types of discounts and student tickets that are available.
That's awesome. I want people to know that it's more accessible than it seems like it would be. Because I know sometimes you hear Broadway, especially if you hear Broadway that's coming from New York, I think the misconception is that it's just way too expensive. And I know that, times are hard also, but it is accessible. The tickets are surprisingly accessible to me. So everybody should be buying tickets. That's all I'm saying. What else should people know about the Broadway in Austin season? Texas Performing Arts, or just like theater arts in general in Austin?
One of actually the most economical ways to participate in Broadway Austin is to become a season subscriber. So where you're buying a whole package of tickets for the season. Mm-hmm. And those are the lowest price tickets that we offer. And our season subscriptions are sold out for this year, but you can go on our website or go to BroadwayInAustin.com and you can sign up to be on the waiting list when we make subscriptions available for next season. And I love seeing people and just the kind of generational experiences and making of memories that happen of families and friends coming to the theater together is really, really special. And a subscription is a great way to do that. The other thing I would say is that it is incredible that we are able to see these shows in our city without getting on a plane and going to New York. And we like to think about Broadway, something we say sometimes that Broadway is the longest road in America. Mm-hmm. And I love that there are theaters all across the country that are welcoming people into the joy of live performance around these incredible productions. And I invite everybody to be part of that.
Thank you so much for being here, Bob. This has been great. I am so excited about MJ the Musical and also just the entire season.
It's my pleasure. I love what you guys do. Thank you so much.
That's all for today here on CityCast Austin. You can find a link to Broadway in Austin in our show notes. If you enjoyed the show, why not tell a friend, rate the show, leave us a review, and subscribe to our Hey Austin newsletter. We'll be back tomorrow morning with more news from around the city. Bye, y'all.